Hello, y'all, close up and personal today as we get into chapter 13 of Mary Monroe's God Don't Like Ugly. And it is my lunch break, so I am like throwing back the cabbage. Chapter 13. I lost the holder for my phone, so I just got you like propped up to the side. Don't judge me, please. So, chapter 12, we did the other day, and I was shaking. You know, Rhonda and Annette are close friends. Rhonda told Annette that if somebody was picking with her, then she'd get her brother to handle that, take care of it, beat anybody up. She's still having her issues with Mr. Boatwright. However, Mama is starting to feel like, okay, Annette is old enough to stay at home by herself because she's totally blind to the fact that this old man has been having his way with her daughter. But it's so important, women, if any women are watching it, it's so important to pay close attention to your kids, and just like it matters who we allow in our life circle, it definitely truly matters who you allow in your kids circle, because when you let them in your circle, they're in your kids circle because your kids are in your circle. So beware. That's a big fat beware. Okay. Chapter 13. Days would go by and there would be no sexual contact between Mr. Boatwright and me. Yes. The older I got, the more schemes I came up with to get out of it, such as leaving for school before he woke up. It meant getting up a lot earlier, rushing around a lot, and missing breakfast, but it was worth it. And we know Annette loves to eat, so if she's saying missing breakfast was worth it, yeah, that part. The only thing I didn't like was having to sit on a park bench around the corner while waiting for my usual time to pick up Rhonda. So she was going through this extra mess, leaving the house early so Mr. Boatwright could not get to her, but she would still be stuck around in the area somewhere because she met Rhonda so they can get to school together. Richland had only one library, and I spent a lot of time there. But when that time doubled, the librarian started giving me suspicious looks. I didn't care. I had made up in my mind that I'd spend as many hours there as it took to avoid Mr. Boatwright. Then, what I expected to happen did. After about 2 weeks, Mr. Boatwright complained to Mama that I was spending a lot of time running the streets because he was missing out on his little free cookie he getting from the child. Annette, Brother Boatwright is concerned you getting into trouble out there in them streets. You done missed your last 5 Bible lessons. From now on, you come straight home from school, and don't you be running out in the morning without breakfast. So now Mr. Boatwright done complain and to put a stop to her hanging out at the library, a stop to her leaving early in the morning till much she get in trouble. So now this is her mama is bringing her back into the house and not asking her what's going on. Open your eyes, mothers. I have to go to the library to study, I attempted to protest. How come you can't study in the house like you been doing? Mama asked. I didn't like arguing with Mama. I didn't like upsetting her. You get home and do whatever Mr. Boatwright tells you to do. Do you hear me? Yes, ma'am, was her response, almost in tears as she uttered that yes, ma'am. I always did what Mama told me to do, and Mr. Boatwright knew that. Give me back my dollar. Mr. Boatwright always made me return his money when I didn't satisfy him in bed. Oh, oh, oh. So Mr. Boatwright paid her like she a little prostitute. But then when he's not satisfied, he take his measly little dollar back. Now, that part. Give me back my dollar. Mr. Boatwright always made me return his money when I didn't satisfy him in bed. This was the first time in over a week that he had come into my room before I got up for school. I had argued with him. I had even tried to push him away, but his threats and strengths were against me. He rolled off of me and sat up on the bed and gobbled some pills, then gave me one of his meanest looks. The whites of his eyes were so red he looked like he was on fire. Is he going to hell? Like me, he had gained a lot of weight over the years. He was not really all that fat, but he was flabby, and his stomach protruded. Having sex with me was the most strenuous exercise he got. I reached under my pillow and slid the dollar out and handed it back to him. Now you get your nasty self to the bathroom yonder and wash up before school, he ordered. Why don't you use those rubber things? I asked before I left for school that morning. He had started pulling out of me before he came, after I got my first period a year earlier. Rubbers, he roared. Why? What's wrong with you, girl? How would it look for a man like me to be seen by some blabbermouth in a drugstore buying something like that? Ew. Anyway, them things cost money. I know you don't expect me to spend even more money on you for that little poontang. Why don't you get you some rubbers from Scary Mary, Mr. Boatwright? I saw a bunch in her kitchen. I sighed. He walked along with me in his housecoat, with a cup of coffee in his hand as I moved towards the door. I couldn't wait to get to school to get away from him. He gave me a thoughtful look as he rolled this information around in his head. Say what? He gulped. In a bowl on top of her refrigerator. I saw them the other day when I went to get you that beer. How you know about rubbers? The words shot out of his mouth like spit. He tilted his head to the side and glared at me out of the corner of his mean eyes. One of Scary Mary's ladies told me, I lied. A couple of fast girls at school talked about them and brought them to school all the time. Which one? He mouthed, giving me a suspicious look. He folded his arms and blocked the front door, because now he want to know who telling her about rubbers, right? The one that got killed. Rosalie, poor thing, wasn't even scared, he said hoarsely, shaking his head. Sweat was sliding down the sides of his face. I could sneak a few rubbers from Scary Mary every time I go over there. Nobody would have to know, I offered. Mercy, he said, grinning as he opened the front door for me. The very next day, I grabbed a handful of condoms from Scary Mary's bowl and delivered them to Mr. Boatwright. Was all he said. Even with the money from his disability check, Mr. Boatwright contributed. Mama still worked 6 days a week for Judge Lawson and up to 10 hours a day. Some mornings, she would be gone by the time I got up. And sometimes I would be in bed when she got home. Not a week went by when she did not remind me, you better do everything Mr. Boatwright tell you to do. Do you hear me? And I did, even if it meant fighting with him first. Now that I had a powerful friend, I felt a whole lot better. I knew that it was just a matter of time before I told Rhonda what was happening. Somehow, I knew that eventually Rhonda would be the one to rescue me. Did a grown person ever do something real bad to you and tell you not to tell? I asked her at lunch a few days later. I put my fork down and prayed she wouldn't see my hand shaking. Yep, Uncle Johnny slipped me some whiskey into my Pepsi one time so he could see me stumbling around the house. So did you tell on him? My hands were shaking harder now, so I put them in my lap. Nope. It was fun being drunk. He lets me drink from his beer all the time now. Don't you dare tell that, Pee-wee. He would blab to my daddy, and I would get a whooping. I wouldn't tell him something like that. I don't think getting drunk is that bad. I was talking about something real bad. You know, like rape. Rhonda put her fork down and looked around the room for a few moments, making me more nervous. Will you tell me who is bothering you, Annette? Rhonda whispered, her eyes scanning my face. I didn't say it was me, My hands were still shaking, but I picked up my fork again and continued eating. I know it's you, girl. Just look at the way your hands are shaking. She wiped her mouth and pushed her tray away. A thoughtful look appeared on her lovely face. Well, what? Are you going to tell me who it is? I can't. I can't tell you that right now. Why not? Is it that preacher? Is it Judge Lawson? She gasped. No. Then who is it, Annette? Because Rhonda now was like, spill this tea. Tell me who hurting you. Tell me who's mistreating you. I need to know. Tell me, is it the preacher? Is it whoever been coming over your house? Who is it? But she does not ask if it is Mr. Boatwright. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you, but not now. I have to think it through some more. She put her hand on my face and caressed it. I need a hug more than ever. And just like she was reading my mind, she leaned over and put her arms around me and gave me the biggest hug I had ever received. And that concludes chapter 13. Let me just take a quick look right here. Chapter 14 look like it's going to get pretty interesting. So we'll get to that real soon. Yeah, we'll get to chapter 14 soon. Chapter 13, really short, sweet, simple, to the point. Annette is starting to open up, and she's opening up to her friend Rhonda. She's asking her, as Rhonda makes her more comfortable. She knows that Rhonda is strong. Rhonda is not as fearful as she is, and Rhonda has a little more clout. She's popular. She has friends. She's the next level from where she is, and Annette is opening herself up and becoming more and more comfortable with her friend Rhonda. To the point now she's asked Rhonda, has anybody ever asked you to do something that was wrong? Anybody asked you to do something and then told you shouldn't tell anybody? And Rhonda is doing this. She's lifting her eyebrows and she's wondering, what is going on with you, babe? Honey love, what is the issue? And so she knows that for her to ask that, and then the whole time she acting, shaking like this, she's knowing that, okay, honey, it's you that is being raped or molested or mistreated, or something is happening to you that nobody wants you to tell. And I want to know. So Rhonda is starting to dig into her. You're going to tell me who it is. You're going to tell me what's going on. And Annette now is saying, okay, I'm going to tell you. I just don't know when I'm going to tell you. I have to think this through some more. I don't know how I want to tell you. I don't know if I'm going to get in trouble if I tell you. I don't know if you're going to believe me. I don't know if you're going to tell somebody else and then I'm going to be in more trouble, or the situation is going to get worse. So there's a lot going through Annette's head, and I can only imagine what a victim is, what such a victim is actually going through. So that's the conclusion of chapter 13. Be back real soon with chapter 1-4 so we can get it moving and see what's actually getting ready to take place, because we know that there's some type of exposure getting ready to happen. Mary Monroe's God don't like ugly. Peace and blessings to you all. See you soon.